I'm Amanda and I'm an addict. Okay. So, when I got here yesterday, Kim asked me, do you want to do a workshop? And I was like, no, and I my first thought is like, I don't have anything to share, and so I was looking at the topics and, thinking, I don't have anything to say about any of those, but the Living the Program, that stuck out to me because that's something that I could use right now, and I thought, in reflecting on this, right now in my life, it's going to be helpful for me. So I decided that I would, share for this. So I was, kind of reflecting on this topic and thinking about this morning, and I thought about, there's a couple things. Seems to me like Living the Program, like there's two aspects of it. Like on the one hand, there's the stuff that I've learned and that I do, and now they're just things that I do. They're just a part of my life, and I don't even have to think about it now, And then there's other parts of Living the Program that I have to work on, like daily. And, and the days that I work on them, are better days than the days that I don't, So, like some of the things that have become a part of my life, one of the first things I think about is honesty, and it, I've learned that if I'm honest about things, even things that I'm afraid to be honest about, the consequences are gonna be less, So I found that it's just easier to just be honest about shit, So that's something that I don't find takes a lot of effort to practice now, The things that I'm finding are hard to be honest about now are, like when I'm doing step work with my sponsor and what I'm really thinking and what it really motivates me, what's really behind the stuff, the actions that I'm taking, that is hard to be honest about, because sometimes I'm like, man, if I say this, I know why I'm doing this stuff, but if I admit that, what is she gonna think of that, and I found that when I just say it, I get a little bit of freedom from that secret, that this is what's really going on in my head, and sometimes it's kind of sick, But when I share that, I get a little bit of freedom from that, and it's no longer a secret that I have to hide. And so there again, just being honest about stuff, I just know that I have to do it, and it's something that I don't feel like that I have to like. It's not something I consider labor intensive, But then another thing, as I was looking through the book this morning, it occurred to me that Living the Program, that's about, maintaining a conscious contact with my higher power. And that is something that I find labor intensive. For me, that's not something that I just wake up in the morning and am instantly doing, And in my life lately, my life has gotten busy, and I find it like really hard to not get distracted, and I've fallen out of doing some of the things that I did that were, helpful, and so I get up in the morning and I read my meditation book, and that's a habit that has become a part of Living the Program for me, and and some days I think about that meditation book later on in the day when something happens, and some days I don't, And but when I do, it's helpful. And but like I've been writing on the 9th step for like a long time now, and I do like a question, and then it sits on the table for like a month, and then I do another question, and then it sits on the table for 3 weeks, and then I do another question, so I'm thinking like, I've been working on this for a while, and I've been answering this question, I must be far along, and I finished this last semester, and I picked up the separating guide, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get real serious about this, I'm going to get down on this and get this done, and And I was like, man, this is a long step, you know. I've got like all these pages left to do, and then I realized I was only on the second page, you know. So, so I was like, God, I guess you haven't really been working on this as hard as you thought that you were working on this, you know. And I've seen some things like happen because of that, and one of them is that. You know, I think my relationship with my sponsor has suffered because of that. You know, and I don't say, like, it's just deteriorated and we have no relationship, because I still talk with her, like, damn near every day, you know. But the intimacy that comes, you know, when two addicts work the steps, we're not having that, you know. And so that's something that this weekend, getting to sit and look at this topic and reflect on that, you know, that's something that I know now needs to happen. For that relationship. And you know, something else that's happened is, like, you know, when I get busy, my head gets busy. It's like I'm just spinning, you know. And so I haven't been journaling like I used to journal. And I started, you know, I heard someone earlier talking about seeking professional help, and I needed to do that, you know, about a year ago or so. So I started working with someone who's in recovery, so professionally, and that's been a really beneficial experience. So I'm glad that people shared about, you know, at some point in recovery, working the steps wasn't doing it, you know. And when I was still having these just like rages, like I just didn't know what I was going to do. I was so angry, you know, and being fearful of what was going to happen, and had some other, you know, issues, and then, you know, a relationship. And I looked at, you know, I realized I didn't have a role model to help me work through some stuff with my significant other, you know, and I needed that. I needed someone to help me work through some of that, and I didn't have a role model for that, and I needed to get, you know, so I decided to look into some professional help with that. And, you know, so I was talking to this therapist and saying, you know, I feel like I go to write, and it's just like, I don't know what I would say, you know, because I don't know where I'm at, you know, like I'm just gone somewhere. And she suggested, she said, why don't you get a book on meditation and just read about meditating? You know, don't try and meditate. Don't try and calm your mind. Don't even go there. Just read about it. So I started doing that. It took me a couple weeks, but I did get a book, and I started doing that. And what I found is that as I'm sitting there reading this book, you know, my breathing slows down, my head gets a little quieter, and then throughout the day, I would think about what I'd read, you know, and so the trick is, though, because I can read stuff, but it's like I'm reading the words, but they're not, like, getting over, like, the committee, or even not the committee, the list, you know, whatever's going on in my head. It's not getting, like, that's not getting quiet enough for me to really read it. So as I'm reading this meditation book, I have to, like, I'm focusing on what I'm reading, you know, and when I do that, then I hear it come up later in the day. And it's like, oh, well, that's like they were talking about whatever, you know, and it's helpful. And it helps me be a little more centered spiritually. And so I've been doing that for a couple weeks, and I found that I am able to sit down and, you know, just be quiet for a little bit here and there, you know, some days. And it's helpful. And So I really want to work on this flagging conscious contact, you know, because it's something that I don't, sorry, it's something that I don't find just comes naturally, you know, and some people make it sound like it's really easy, you know, but no, I don't think so. But it's the key to staying clean, you know? And at the same time, though, even though I don't feel like I'm always walking around in this, like, spiritual, you know, bubble or something, I have established a relationship with my higher power that makes living my life day to day, like, a lot easier. You know, I don't have the kind of fears that I had about daily living, you know, like I know that there is a higher power in my life that is taking care of some shit, you know, and that if I do the next right thing and, you know, handle the problem that's before me, that some of the larger things are going to be okay, you know, like gas prices are going up, right? Everybody knows this, and I've been freaking out lately, like, what the fuck am I going to do if da-da-da-da, you know, and it's like, I didn't come this far to get dropped in my face. You know, and I've heard that, and so I hear that voice, and I'm like, it's gonna be okay, you know, and there's been lots of, you know, instances in my recovery where I found that to be useful. You know, I haven't my higher power has not brought me this far to drop me on my face, you know, because I heard earlier today, you know, I'm clean. The difference between me and some of the people that I used with that I've seen die in just a few years that I've been clean, is grace, you know? So I need to remember that there are reasons for things going on in my life that I may not understand, but that my higher power has a plan for me, you know? And because I really believe that, you know, it shows up in the way that I live my life, I think. You know, so I got in a relationship when I was 2.5 years clean, and it's been about, you know, 2.5 years later, and, you know, we're still together, and I'm realizing that, you know, we're coming to a point now where things are a lot more work than they were, like, for the first year or whatever, you know? We're having to work on some stuff, and it's so easy for me to, you know, well, you need to fix that. You know, that is unacceptable. And it's really only in the last few weeks that I'm, like, really like, oh, shit, I have some shit I need to work on, too, you know? I mean, it's like it just didn't even occur to me that, you know, this communication deal was a two-way street. And so I'm finding that, like, you know, what happens is I start, you know, I'll get upset about something, and I tell myself, you shouldn't be mad about that. You know, you shouldn't be upset about that. And I try and talk myself out of the way that I'm feeling. And I know, you know, through this program that the way that I feel about something, you know, feelings aren't facts, but the way that I feel about something is okay. You know, no matter what it is, I don't need to justify it, rationalize it, try and talk it away. It just is. It just is, you know? And I've started to realize that I need to apply that to some of my personal relationships. You know, because when I try and talk myself out of whatever's going on, what ends up happening is I just get more pissed off and more bitter and more resentful. And then I'm looking more at, you know, I'm not looking at what's going on with me. If I'm trying to talk myself out about stuff, I'm not being honest with myself about what's going on with me. And then I'm taking it out on him, you know? So I'm looking at some of that stuff, and you know, it's not easy, but part of living the program of Narcotics Anonymous for me is being, like, really vigilant of what's going on in my head. You know, I have to think about what I'm thinking about, like, all the time, you know? Because I know, like, when I'm telling myself, you shouldn't be thinking that, I know better than that. You know, I know better than to do that to myself and to put myself in that guilt, you know? But this is where I am, and I'm not at the point where I'm free of that guilt shit yet, you know? And so it's something that I struggle with. And, you know, but I have a lot of hope today that, you know, the steps, there's a process with them. And that, you know, as I work through this 9th step, you know, my hope is that a lot of that guilt and a lot of this doing shit for other people is, you know, it's going to be, I'm going to get to look at that and learn some things about that. And I just know that is what this step is going to do for me now, you know, and I'm really excited about that, you know, because this is some stuff that it's starting to. I was reading something this morning, and I don't know, you know, I mark all these pages, and I don't know what pages on what I marked on what page. So, you know, when it was talking about, you know, that as we go through recovery, different stuff will present itself to be worked on at different times. And so this is what is being presented now, you know, and and wherever I'm at in the steps, like the stuff going on in my life goes with whatever step that I'm on, and that, I guess that's living the program to me, that the stuff that's going on in the step work is going to show up in my life. And even when I'm not doing my step work, the steps are going to work me. And so when I start having some major conflicts with some of the stuff that's showing up in my life, then that motivates me to get back with the step work, because it helps explain it to me, what the fuck's going on, When I start answering those questions, I start to see, oh, this is why I'm struggling with this. And here's the tools to deal with this, and here's the keys, we get key tags, and then we have to read the book, open the book to get the keys to put on those key tags. I heard that, I stole that. So, anyways, so there's some exciting things. Recovery is exciting, and when I I'm excited about learning the stuff that is coming up in my life now to learn. And, when I took this topic, I thought this could so easily for me turn into a list of all the things that I should be doing to be living the program, And I was like, I'm not going to do that with this today, because I know there's all kinds of stuff that I could do better, or I could do more, or I could, whatever. I know that. But what I need to use this stuff as is just a simple inventory of where I'm at right now, of what some stuff today that I could work on without trying to, guilt myself or make myself feel bad for the stuff that I am working on and the stuff that I am doing, So this morning I was really determined that I was gonna focus on that and not, not turn this into a self-battering or some kind of, negative thing, because that's not what recovery is about, and that's old stuff that comes up when that happens, and so I'm real grateful for this program, and and for being here at We Grow with Love. This is something that, I think everybody says, I look forward to this every year, but it's a big spiritual recharge for me, and it's a way that continues to, keep reminding me to not forget to keep working on that flagging conscious contact, I don't know, I'm real grateful to be clean, and I'm kind of drawing blanks, so I think that means that it's Mark's turn. But this is good for me, and I'm glad for this opportunity to sit down and review some of this stuff with myself and my higher power, and get to get up here and share. So, thanks.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Mark S. from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
I know it. Good morning, everybody. I'm an addict. My name's Mark. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence so I can quiet down some of the voices. Thank you. Living the program. Me and Amanda were joking around about it last night. We said, here's what we'll do, man. We'll have everybody come up and share first, and then we'll go up and say, no, man, this is what the hell you're doing wrong, and this is what you need to do, okay? So, we goof on this stuff, man, because we can do that today. I got to get to the point where I can goof on it, okay? And that's what living the program's all about. I too, like, this is the second talk I've given on this, because I had this one that I've been practicing, you know. Yeah, I thought, well, you know, one thing about this, I go to meetings. That's what I do. And I stay in the basic text. That's where I get this stuff from. And so I'm looking at it this morning, and I'm like, okay, living the program. And so the first thing I thought of, you know, I asked for the moment of silence because that's part of living the program for me. Because when I think I know, man, I can run with that. But when I get to the moment of silence and I can get to the quiet, I can get to the quiet, then maybe, just maybe, I can apply some of the stuff that we have taught me. Maybe I can't, but I go to these places because I never know when it's going to come up, that everything that you guys have been trying to tell me I'm going to need just to stay clean. And so you know, in the beginning, we got these readings in the beginning of meetings. And you know the readings, like when everybody's coming in and the chairs are kicking around, the fucking cell phones are going off, and everybody's texting and shit. But then there's some people that like come there and listen to the readings. Some people do that. Some people actually come there and read them, man. And sometimes meetings, if we're going to so many meetings, there's this thing, I don't know, somebody said it, you know, because I don't have any original thoughts. And today's Bob Dylan's birthday, you know, what the hell, man. So Bob Dylan said, if there's an original thought out there, I could sure use it right now. But, you know, sometimes we go to so many meetings that there's this thing, I don't know who said it, man, but I saw it and I like it and I remember it once in a while, and it's called, this guy said, familiarity breeds contempt. Okay? And sometimes I can go to so many meetings, I'm going to so many meetings, that's all I'm doing. It's just going to meetings, going to meetings, going to meetings. Okay? And I'm not downgrading that. But if all I'm doing is going to meetings and I'm not taking the substance from the meetings and trying to apply it to my life when things are going wrong, now I'm pissed off because this shit ain't working.
Right.
Oh, wait, what are you doing, man? No, don't ask me what I'm doing. No, I'm going to meetings. Okay. You told me to go to meetings. See, I'll run with this stuff, man. You told me to do this, I'm doing it, it's not working, this is bullshit. Man, I can get there like that. You know what? I can get there after I have had a glorious morning, a moment of silence, I practiced an 11th step, I'm feeling so spiritual that I can levitate, man. And the next thing I know, this shit don't work, man. You know? My hands are shaking, Jesus Christ. I'm in the right place. This thing here says, what is a Narcotics Anonymous program? It says in this reading. And it says, our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. So simply. The problem is, I'll start working with words like that, and I'll say, oh, so they're saying I'm simple, eh? No, the set of principles is simple, you dumbass. Nothing like that. The set of principles. These are spiritual principles. Amanda was talking about that, the way we think, man. I like this word because I don't know nothing about computers that much, you know. But if I can say some computer technology, maybe you'll think I know something about computers, you know. But there's this thing on computers called a default setting, you know. And I guess the way it works, I'm gonna guess at this, is that like when your shit's in one place too long, it goes to someplace else, and that's your default setting. I think that's how it works. Anyways, that's how I've made it work. My default setting is not to go to spiritual principles. I'm an addict, man. My default setting, the first thing that comes to my mind when the shit hits the fan is not love. I'm not thinking like that. I'm starting to think like, I got something for you. I got something for you, but I haven't had to act on those thoughts in a while. Thank you, Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you, Narcotics Anonymous. I have acted on those thoughts. I've acted on those thoughts clean. Talk about jails, institutions, and death. Oh my. Go there clean, man. Go there when you think you got some spiritual principles, man. I got spiritual the other day with an officer of the law. Because of Narcotics Anonymous, I've become a responsible, productive member of society sometimes. And people, I mean, it says this in our literature, and it's happened to me. And I'm sharing this because it's a success that I've had, and maybe you can have it, and maybe your success will be different. But sometimes we share a lot of the pain here, but we don't share the success. And the newcomers need to know, man, that you can get clean here. You can stay clean here, and things can happen to you. But see, where I got twisted was before I got here, the hit was material. You know, the quest was the dangling carrots all the time, man. And what I've learned now about living the program is the quest is spiritual, okay? And as a result of trying to live spiritually, I might gain some material things and some success. I might. But I might lose that shit too. And when I lose it, I better be okay with that because it really is spiritual. Well, as part of what I do, I serve on committees outside of Narcotics Anonymous that actually led me into the political arena in Washington, D.C. And I'm in this room, and I'm serving on this committee with corrections professionals. and what I do when I'm on the road is the first thing I do is I go to the library, and I hit na.org, and I find meeting lists, okay? Because I print these meeting lists out because I don't have a computer, but I learned here in Narcotics Anonymous that libraries with the card, you can do this free, man. I didn't know they did things like that. What the hell? I'm an addict. I don't go to libraries. What the hell are you gonna do? You got to be quiet for one thing. Shit. I can't do that very long. So I go to this library, I download this meeting list, and I go to this meeting in D.C. I go to meetings, right? But these guys, man, like when I got appointed to this committee, I got there, I got appointed to this committee, and the way these committees work outside, I don't know, I'm going to talk about this committee outside of NA for a minute. Okay, the way this committee works, and any of these committees, is there's a lot of political shit that goes on after the meetings. And that usually involves hanging out in the bars, you know, and drinking and carrying on and getting to meet each other. And then that way, when I bring my shit to the table, you remember we were cool last night, and maybe you'll hook up with me, you know. So now I got a strike against me because my personal profession is I'm a food service supervisor. I feed inmates that are in the Department of Corrections. I supervise, I do inmate feeding, okay? So I serve on this committee. These guys are all cops, okay? So there's already a rift. They don't like me because I'm a convict lover, you know, because I got to do things but I made this decision that, you know what, I'm going to get appointed to this committee, but I'm not, if I have to go hang out with these guys in the bar every night to get my shit done, then I'm gonna have to leave. I can't serve at this level. This will not be my level of service for this organization. And I've been on this committee about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And so we know each other at the meetings, but it's just like doing a drive-by on an NA meeting, you know. You know, I get there after the readings are done and I split before the group hug, you know, and then I can't figure out why the shit don't work. So, but what's happening with these guys is you know, we know each other very surfacely. And so the second day I'm in D.C., my wife and I went to this NA meeting, and it was a great meeting, and we had a good meeting, and I'm feeling pretty good, you know, I'm connecting with what I need to connect with. And so the next morning I walk into to my committee meeting, and these guys had also been in town 2 days, and they've been drinking together for 2 days. So there's a level of camaraderie there that I'm not part of. And immediately, here goes my default setting. You ain't as good as them, man. You know, you'll never fit in. And you're just a piece of shit, and you shouldn't be here anyways. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I man, that thought danced in my head for probably 5 or 10 minutes. I entertained that thought. And all of a sudden, I got to the calm. And I don't know why. I don't know how I got there, but the calm came. And when the calm came, I thought of that meeting the night before. And I thought of you guys. And I thought of we. And I realized that, once again, we did for me what I couldn't do for myself, you know. And so that night, I went to a meeting. And I read, what is the NA program? And as I'm reading it, where's this part, man? You'd think I'd know this by now, but I kind of don't. Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't know. It talks about somewhere that we are not affiliated with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups. And as I'm reading this, I'm just laughing my ass off because I'm affiliated with 2 of them. But that's me, personally, okay? That's what happened to me. Narcotics Anonymous is not affiliated at all. Thank God. Thank God it's not. But that's some of what the NA program is. Oh, no wonder I ain't finding it. I'm looking at Why Are We Here? Yeah, we are not connected with any political or religious. Okay, so anyways, there's some magic in this book, man. There's some magic in these first 100. I find the magic before the stories. I want a story. I'm a lazy bastard. I don't want to read it. I'll go to a meeting and live it. You know, I'll try, you know. What the hell, I don't want to read a damn story. Because right away I'd say, oh, man, they're just writing that bullshit. You know, but if I can see your face and you're telling me that, wow. But you know what happens with this program? It says right here in this book, living this program gives us a relationship with a power greater than ourselves, corrects defects, and leads us to help others. Where there has been wrong, the program teaches us the spirit of forgiveness. Then it talks about how many books have been written about the nature of addiction, and this book concerns itself with the nature of recovery. If you're an addict, found this book, give yourself a break and read it. There's a little bit of direction. And I follow that direction. But we're talking about living the program. And first of all, I got to get a program. Because my default setting, I ain't got one. I got a program, okay? But the reason I'm here is because I had a program, okay? So now what? Now what? You know, I mean, I'm gonna borrow some thoughts I've heard too. You know, if nothing changes, my clean date will, man. Yeah, okay, you got it, baby. You got it. And you know how you keep it, don't you, Maria? You just got to give it away, man. See, there's something unnatural. I'm going to give something away? Hell no. I ain't giving nothing away. Because, see, everything is related to the dope, man, where I come from. And when I start giving things away, you're going to think I'm a chump, man. And you're going to try to get more. And that's the only reason you want me around. See, if anybody wants, I know how we used to roll, okay? And if we wanted you around, we wanted you around because we could get down, man. You know? Maybe you were like one of them normal users. I like fucking with them normal users, man, because they would, you always crash early, man, and then they wouldn't think like us, so the shit still left out. Well, when they'd wake up, it's all gone, and we were happy, man. You know, so we liked having them around. But pretty soon that circle gets smaller and smaller because they quit coming around. You know, they start thinking, man, look, you do shit just a little too different than I do. You know, and sometimes even the low bottom people don't want to come around, man, you know. So, to come in here and to hear somebody say, keep coming back. Wow, there's magic in them words, man. There's magic in them words. Why do you want me to come back, man? What do I got? We say that all the time, don't we? What do I got to share? You know, it's not up to me what I got to share. Somebody has made me a vessel of sharing, man. And it wasn't me, you know. It wasn't me. I came here, the last, you know, our 12-step talks about it. Last thing I wanted was a spiritual awakening. I didn't come here. My desperation did not get me to say, you know what, man, I'm going to go hang out with them people and get a spiritual awakening. My desperation said, you know, I'm gonna go, I got to settle down for a while, man. I just got to back off a little bit, man. The moon got full last night. I got crazy. I'm going to learn how to do this shit different. I don't want to hear words like complete abstinence from all drugs. I'm not that bad yet. What the hell, man? And then I hear the stories. And I'm thinking, well, shit. Some of them I said, well, damn, man, if that's all they did, what the hell are they doing here? That's a wake-up, man. You know, but I learned how not to compare myself. I learned that. Everything I'm doing, I learned. I learned here. We learned to live clean. We learned to change that default setting. The other morning, I'm in this peaceful place, man. I'm in my dining room, and I live in the woods, man. And I live in surroundings like this. I mean, I don't have a lake or nothing. Nice little river there and beaver dam and shit. And I'm chilling. I'm doing my 11th step, and I got this sick cat. So a lot of people say, you know what? You got a sick cat. You can fix it real good with a .22 shell. Yeah, you could. I can't. You know. I mean, if it gets sicker and the vet gives me another story, that might be an option. But right now, I'm working on this other thing. So the vet gives me some medicine. And Debbie's been taking care of the cat. Because I get up and I go to work, and this was my first day off since we got this medication. So I said, well, you know what? I'll take care of the cat this morning. So I get this pill out, and I chop it in half, and I start crushing it. Because the cat, this cat, man, I can't put the pill in the cat's mouth. Because the cat... Well, the claw marks have went away some, but this cat don't like it like that. But so you got to crush it up. So I find myself crushing this pill up into a white powder, and I'm lining the shit, man. What? The cat ain't gonna get up here and do a rail, man. Where the hell did that come from? I mean, I've been clean a while, okay? Like, remember where I came from? I just came from my 11th step, man. I came from my meditation. I don't even have to go to work today. All is right with the world. Camp Max coming up, and I'm railing dope for the cat. But I went back, you know what? And for a minute, man, I went there. You know, for a minute, there's my default setting. I'm back where I belong. There's this unnatural way. I'm living unnaturally right now. So, because of Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't have to obsess with that thought. I didn't have to obsess with. Thank God I was in a good spiritual place. Because, see, here's what this is all about. This is just my opinion, okay? It's not in this book, I don't think. It's my opinion. The reason I'm here is I need to learn what to do when the only decision left is me and the dope. And I don't know when that day's coming, okay? But I guarantee you it's coming. That's a guarantee. I don't know. It ain't got no money back guarantee or nothing, so it might not be worth a shit. But I know for me, I've learned that the only thing that I can put between me and that dope is a higher power, okay? Now, I had no higher power when I got here. I mean, not of a spiritual. I had a higher power. Sometimes they were like slots in doors and shit, you know. Knock. Got this faith, man. So I come here and you try to give me new faith, and I don't want to know anything about that. But I remember that faith from knocking on that door and that shit slides out. I remember that faith. How come I can't do something right? How come I can't do something new? Because it's change, man. It's change. So we learn that if we come here, and that we'll get into this spiritual thing, man. And it in the Just for Today, I actually even have the right chapter open. I don't know why. I must have a higher power. But the sentence that I'm looking at right now, lack of daily maintenance can show up in many ways. Uh-oh. What the hell does that mean? First of all, I got to get something to maintain, okay? I maintain my habit. I maintain the buzz for how many? I maintain that. And when I had a lack of that maintenance, oh, it showed up. It showed up, and it didn't show up in spiritual ways. So I got to try to get this new thing going. And because I come around here, see, I used to know a lot of shit. Sometimes I think I still do. But I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better because I learned it here, that when I'm starting to say I know, I better really stop. I better stop them thoughts right fucking there. Because I don't know. I don't know. When I know, I'm discounting everything you said, man. I'm discounting it. You can tell me, how many times do we hear it, man? Our friend Matt shared about it last night, man. You know, you need to do this. Yeah, fuck that. You know? I don't know why. I'm an addict. That's just what I do. But what I learned about coming to NA was dictionaries. I've learned some strange shit here, man. Dictionaries. And there's this word, and I even wrote it down. Of course, I probably won't find it. I'm like Amanda there. But there's this word about lack of daily maintenance, and it's called complacency. Okay? And I say, yeah, man, I know what that means, complacency. Yeah, I'm just chilling out. I ain't doing shit, man. That's what complacency means. So I looked it up in the dictionary, man. And this is what the dictionary said about it. I wrote it down and put it in my basic text. And I don't know why I did that, but it just seems like the place to have it. A feeling of contentment or self-satisfaction, especially when coupled with an unawareness of danger or trouble. Holy shit, man. Who the hell wrote that, man? Who's this Webster dude? I don't know what he was doing, man, but they come up with some shit like that. Complacency with the unawareness. Well, you know, we talk a lot, and I'm gonna touch on this because it just came into my head. We talk a lot about the active disease, the active addiction. And this is a place I've been, and I hope to God I never go there again. Inactive recovery. Inactive recovery. Get a bottom. Get a bottom in recovery. Get a bottom with some clean time. Get a bottom when you think you know. And you ain't applying this shit. You know, we talk about, a lot of us, we talk about, you know, we look at the old timer, man, and they're just sitting there so calm, and I want that, man. I want that. You know what really pisses me off? When somebody walks in and gets a 30-day tag and I'm not in a spiritual place, and I look and I go, how come they got that and I don't? And it's because of that complacency, man. I have quit doing things that I used to do when I wanted this so goddamn bad. I wanted it so bad. And all of a sudden, see, I'll start putting things on it. I'll start putting conditions on my recovery, man. Watch out. I start putting conditions on my recovery. I'm really setting myself up because I will never be what you are. You know, what you do might get me high. Okay? What I do might get you high. Shit, what I do might get me high. You know? But when I'm getting with self-acceptance, and that's to me, that is when I really know that I'm living the program. I feel just as good inside as I do outside. You know, I can get self-acceptance sometimes for like parts of a day. I don't, you know, it's fleeting. It's fleeting. And see, I think I came here and I expected, see, the letters ED to be on the end of words, you know. I expected that I would come here and just like do this shit and then I'd be able to just hit it. You know, I'd you know, how many pages? What, 103? You know, I should be able to read that and be gone. 12 steps, you know. I looked at it like maybe like school, you know. You go through a grade, you just never, you put it on the shelf. You never got to go back to that grade again. Once they pass you, I'm gone, man. And sometimes that can be like that. I don't have to do all 12 steps every single day. But I better have enough open-mindedness that if I got to go back to step 1, because a lot of times I'm in 10, 11, and 12. A lot of times that's where I'm at. But if all of a sudden, I don't want to, if I'm going back to step 1 because I finally realize that this shit that's making me crazy, I forgot to surrender it. I'm thinking I'm running some shit. See, I don't want to go back to where I was 10 minutes before I knew about step 1. I don't ever want to be there again, man. I don't ever want to be there again. So, for me, living the program just means going to meetings, trying some step work, and maintaining a conscious contact with a higher power. Daily maintenance. That's what I'm maintaining. I learned how to get it here, and as long as I keep coming back and don't use, no matter what, and I don't know what the no matter whats are. But I know if I'm railing tablets up for my cat, I can't say it ain't about the dope anymore. You know, the cat's sitting there, yeah, and I'm just top. So, I'm grateful to be at Camp Mac again, and grateful to be participating in this journey in recovery. So, I love y'all. Thanks.
Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know so that the tape can be turned off. So at this time, we have about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I can open the floor up for sharing. Podium's open.
Shit, now you get the other side.
Shut up.
Paul Harvey, the rest of the story.
You're such a jerk. Good morning, family. My name is Debbie. I'm an addict. I'm going to take my glasses off. I'm going to try to get through this. Because I can come up here and I can feel today and I can share, and it's hard. And I hear, all this, hear Amanda and Mark talk, and, and something that hit me was, we can only keep what we have by giving it away. And sometimes I don't want to give it away. I want to keep it, and I want to stew in it. And I don't want to share it because that means I have to come up here and I have to feel. And I have to be vulnerable, And I guess what you're seeing right now is a spiritual awakening in its full form, because I came full circle on something, and it's been rough, I always try to hold on to some hope, because that's what people gave me when I didn't feel any hope. I try to hold on to some love, because that's what people gave me when I didn't feel any love for myself or anybody else. I've learned through these steps. I have self-acceptance today, but I have a hard time accepting other people and things that happen. And I've been dealing with something the last week. Actually, it's probably been about a year on and off, but I've come to the end of the journey with this process, thank God. And I'll tell you to hang on and trust the process, and I'll falter. Fear will come in, and I don't know if I can hang on, because I don't know what it is. And I'm not good with the unknown. And I've been taking this to meetings because that's what this program tells me to do. And living the program, how it works, or just for today, living the program is what I've been staying in on a daily basis, on a minute-by-minute basis, and that's what's been getting me through what I'm going through, because I'm dealing with anger, I'm dealing with intolerance, I'm dealing with being judgmental, I'm dealing with wanting to hurt you as much as I hurt, And what I have found what happens to me is when I have all these people in my recovery circle that I count on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and they start dropping off like flies, I start getting a little insecure. And then I start feeling hopeless, you know, and it hit me that, you know, I am such a small part of such a big thing. And I lose sight of that because I'm in my comfort zone. I have the people that I love, I count on, that know me. I can call them, even if they don't call me all the time, you know, and then say when they find I'm going through something, why didn't you call me? Well, why didn't you call me? You know, I'm there. And my best friend is using again. And it's not good, you know, it's not good. And I had to make a decision, and I had to find a way to deal with it and accept it and move on with my recovery. And just like the reading says, my thoughts will be in my new associations people are not using and find a new way of life, so long as I follow that way. And that is a must for me. It is a must for me to separate from the old playgrounds and playmates, you know, and that's a really hard thing, you know, because I want to fix her. I want to fix everything. She was there when I got very sick, you know, and she was there for me. And the difference between me and her was I wanted to get clean and I wanted to stay clean. And so she's been calling, and I started getting sick. My head started getting crazy, my stomach, you know, obsessive thinking's coming in. And, you know, at one point my brain said, get on a bus, go down, and fuck it, go out with her. And I'll show her. This is what she's done to me. You know, talk about self-centeredness. And, you know, luckily I have some time under my belt today, and I have a program, and I'm responsible for my actions, not my thoughts. These thoughts will come. I've had some crazy, insane thoughts. And so finally a few days ago, she called me, and I told her that we have to find a way to deal with this, and I have to find a way to move on and accept what she's doing. And the games have to quit, the lies have to stop. You're either going to quit using or you're going to stay out there. And what I'm seeing is that you probably really don't want to stay clean anymore. And I need to hear that out of your mouth so I can start healing. And I just want her to get honest with me, you know. And that's what it is. She doesn't want to quit using, you know. And when she first went out, you know, I go back to jails, institutions, and death, you know, and she went to jail immediately. And she has other illnesses happening that when she puts dope back in her mouth, in her system, will probably kill her really quick. And I have her power of attorney. I've had it for a while. And, I mean, she's more of a sister to me than I've ever had my whole life. You know, and so I'm dealing with a lot of sadness and mourning. And I really didn't know if I had made the right decision, and I had to tell her, I said, I love you, but I can't go through this insanity with you. But I love you no matter what, and if you want to get clean, just pick the phone up and I'll be there. And I will help you through this, and I will hold you, and I will love you. But until then, you know, I just can't do this. So I went to home group the other night, and I got home and she was on the answer machine, and I couldn't even listen to it. I just told Mark, you need to delete it right now, because I just started feeling sick. She sounded like crap. Nothing made any sense. You know, I'm like, you know, I just have to go through these feelings, and I have to trust this process, and I will get the end of it sooner or later, and the end has come sooner, and this is the acceptance. This is the cleansing. This is the moving on. This is accepting all of it, you know, because I'm no different than anybody else. Nobody in here is any different. Anybody can walk out this door, you know, and I mean, I've done it. I mean, who the hell am I? You know, I wanted to tell her, I was sharing a meeting, I wanted to tell her, I hate your guts. You know, but you know what that is? It's some old behavior. That is, stay there, I don't want to get hurt. And I have the disease of addiction, and the manifestation comes that pretty soon I'm not going to be talking to anybody. I'm not, I could feel it. It's like, you know what, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You know, I can recover by myself. I'm so tired of people using and dying and screwing up my circle, you know, my comfort zone, my security. And when I walked into Camp Mac, I didn't know, I wasn't feeling on the way down here. I don't know what, I was just like zoned out, you know, and trying to kill the obsession about what is she doing. She was supposed to be here this weekend. That ain't happening, you know. And we got here, and, you know, the first thing I saw were all these people that I have seen year after year. And I've seen all these people that have come back from relapses, you know, and they're still here. I'm still here, you know, and the hope that I lost, I got back, because I wrote her off, you know, but that's easy for me. It's simple. That's safe. She's already dead anyway, so I'm going to kill her here, and I'm going to kill her here, and I'm not there anymore today. I can't do that. And apparently, I guess I made the right decision letting go and detaching with love, because last night, about 3 in the morning, I had a using dream, and it kicked my ass. And it woke me up out of a dead sleep, and I went out and I threw up. You know, and it reminded me that, oh my God, that could be me. That could be me. That was a reminder of Deb. You know, you did the right thing, as hard as it is, you know, and as much as you want to save her, I'm not the one. I'm not God. You know, I'm not God. I'm not it. And oh, I wish I was sometimes, I'm telling you. Because, you know, and I took a deep breath. I woke back up, and I was just frozen in bed for a minute. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if I'm still going to be spinning, because I was drunk in this dream. I don't even remember ever getting that drunk, you know, and I haven't had a dream like that in a long time. And usually if I do, there's a reason for it. You know, I believe it's God reminding me, you know, of what it used to be like, you know. And so I'm like gonna still fight this process and not let the tears come, not let the cleansing come, you know. And so I've been walking around my glasses all day. I walk in here, I hear people start talking, and the tears start coming, you know. And this voice says, you need to get up there, you need to share, because I guess I needed to be here this weekend. Because, I mean, my head on the way down here was going, you know, my house is clean, it's starting to get green, the river's flowing, what the hell do I need to be here for? I've been to meetings, I go to meetings, you know, like Mark said, I go to meetings, you know. And I've been sharing about it. My brain will tell me, oh, you know, you just need to quit sharing about this crap. People are going to get sick of it, you know. But, you know, I realized sitting there, it's like I took a deep breath. I let the tears come. The acceptances come. And the one thing I did tell her that, you know, if she gets bad, that I do have her power of attorney. I will do the right thing. I will do what she wants, and I can do that today. Because the old me would have taken it and ripped it up and said, you know what, I don't care if you stay on a ventilator the rest of your freaking life, you know. But she's counting on me, and I guess I've become that kind of person, you know, as much as my head sometimes doesn't want me to. But all I know is if you hang on 1 minute, it could be the difference between life and death. It could be the difference between walking out the door and using, you know. And I guess I just hit another no matter what. And it's like Mark says, I never know what a no matter what is. I hit one in DC, you know, because I have to do like tours with these women, you know, and these women had to stop and start drinking in the middle of the day in the middle of all these monuments, you know, and my brain went off to the races. But the difference today is I didn't act on it, you know, and I walked in a meeting and saw people that remembered us from, you know, years past, you know, and they're still there. And there was newcomers there. There's people back from relapses. I'm like, you know, and I just dealt with what I got to deal with, you know. And the sinking feeling in D.C. came, you know, my friend and I know each other well enough. I knew that she was using when I was gone, and I knew what I was going to walk into, you know. And but I have no control over that. I have no control over that. I can only deal with what I need to deal with to stay clean and to try to apply spiritual principles when it's really, really hard, you know, because I'm still fighting that anger. I'm still a little angry. I am, you know, and I'm not angry at her. I'm not angry at anyone in person. I'm angry at this disease and what it does to people and what it's done to me. And maybe that's a healthy anger. I don't know, you know. But I'm really grateful to be here, and you know, a lot of you love me till I love myself, and I'm going to try to continue doing that and giving that back to other people instead of sitting there going, oh, they're going to use anyways, or oh, they're headed for relapse. Oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know. And I love you guys, and thanks.
Love you.
Yeah.
I'm an addict named Carol, and I know we're probably out of time, and if you need to leave, you know, do what you gotta do. This is what I gotta do. And this is like my topic, you know, living the program. And this may infringe a little bit on the commitment I made to myself earlier, but that's okay. I'm working on it. I've, you know, I'm been around the program close to 7 years. I'd like to be able to say I have that much clean time. I don't. I still have that much time of learning and experience and recovery. You know, I may have changed the date, but I didn't throw away, you know, I threw away the date. I didn't throw away everything I learned. If I had done that, I wouldn't be back. I've had a crash course on living the program. I thought, you know, in 6 years, I thought I was living the program. And to some probably minor extent, I was. I was staying clean, I was sponsoring, you know, other service work, and really essential stuff, feeling better about me. And then I was involved in an accident. And this has taught me so much about living the program. Because, well, sometimes I know I need help, I don't want to ask for it. Sometimes when I do say I need help and people offer it, it's, well, you know, but I can handle it. All right. So, when you spend several months wrapped in polypropylene and aluminum, every day you have to ask for help for some of the most basic things in your life. Asking for help has gotten a lot easier. You know, while I was physically very challenged to the extent of, you know, basically being disabled, and there was some mind scrambling went along with this accident, but it didn't seem to inhibit the spiritual growth. And it was like having my physical abilities so severely inhibited expanded the spiritual growth. You know, I have some real issues with time-space continuum. Used to be, tell me 10 minutes, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Some days I don't know 10 minutes from a half hour from 2 hours. But I'm recovering. In January, it wasn't that I didn't remember having been at Merckna last July. I didn't remember there had been a Merckna last July. This weekend, I walked in here and recognized someone who was a speaker at that Merckna. My mind is recovering. I'm not wearing a body cast and a neck brace. My body is recovering. So clean, because I was on pain meds before I ever became conscious, I had to go through withdrawal again. Basically clean, and I was given, you know, the weird things that have happened. I was given a moment of terror and clarity when I realized that my loving family, they had been given directions for medicating me to get me home from Missouri, where my accident had been. They had kept me on that medication lineup. I mean, they were told to give me these meds to basically keep me unconscious for this ride. And they had maintained that. They didn't know, the people in Missouri didn't know when I got back to Michigan, there was going to be no ongoing medical care. I didn't have insurance. Medicaid didn't think I needed it. I went to a doctor that said, well, all I can do for you is prescribe your meds. Well, gee, thanks. I got a whole bunch of those. But I happened to hear my family member one day, she was going to be gone a couple days, she was telling somebody else, you know, these are the meds, this is what she gets, this is what this, you know. And I heard her and I said, oh my God, I am loaded and I know more about this stuff than she does. And they are hugely over-medicating me. I don't know how, the 6 weeks that I don't have in my memory, I don't know how much of that is from the head injury and how much of it is from the over-medication. Because clean, I've been caregiver to some terminally ill people and been in charge of giving them these meds. These weren't anything I ever used in my addiction. I know how they act. I know the things they delete from your head. I've seen it. You know, so having this moment to realize what they were doing and to start taking the steps I needed to do to make my family aware and to get myself off all these drugs they had me on. So consequently, 4 months after an accident that, you know, involved multiple skull fractures, multiple spine fractures, and, you know, there's a list like this if I'm going to include everything. But 4 months after that, I was off all the meds and found out that most of the pain I was in was from something they never even diagnosed in the hospital. My ribs weren't broken, but 3 of them were twisted out of place. Hurts every time you breathe, every time you move. Once I was out of the body cast, my chiropractor was able to fix that. Never been diagnosed. Nobody ever mentioned it at the hospital or after. But when I reached the stage where I was ready to give up the meds, I was also at the stage where something could be done to remove me from what pain was left. If that's not a higher power working, you know, what I went through, why, doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm here today, and I'm trying to reach into my head here. I'm thinking, is it page 48 that has like a dozen of the spiritual principles listed? 48, 50, somewhere around here? 50? Okay, I'm a little short, but okay. Hope. Oh my God, every day I hoped I was going to recover from this particular circumstance. Surrender? Oh yeah, I surrender. My life is unmanageable. My sponsor suggested I write a first step on, surrender and unmanageability. With this, carried a long way. Open-mindedness, willingness, faith, tolerance, patience, humility, unconditional loving, sharing, and caring. There were people that reached out to me. A woman with barely over a year clean was leaving where she lives in the city, only blocks from the meeting. She'd drive 20 minutes out of town to pick me up and bring me into a meeting twice a week. The caring, the sharing, the humility that goes along with the experience of becoming a handicapped person. It's a very different place to live. And, I was given the gift of it being temporary. I'm healing. This all happened in a motorcycle accident, and I rode to this event this weekend on a motorcycle. My basically first time road event since. This is recovery. This is firsthand. This is living the program every day in my life, and I cannot imagine if I had gone through this accident without having 6 years practicing, what state my mind would have been in. Because the physical healing is secondary. It has to happen up here first. I have to believe it's going to get better. I have to want it that bad. I had to want it that bad that when there wasn't a freaking neurosurgeon that would see me, U of M turned me down, the locals turned me down, I had to reach a point and say, casts are only worn for so long for a reason. Nobody will give me the authorization to take off this body cast. So I started sleeping without it. I was aware, little things. When my daughter would help me change my shirt, I became aware one day that my hair wasn't being pulled because I was picking up my own head. And that had been going on for several weeks before I reached a stage where I started easing out of all this equipment. Because no one would take the responsibility to say, okay, you can take it off. You wear a cast too long and it starts damaging other parts. Muscle atrophy, all these fun things. Live the program. I'm alive today. It's a damn good life. I'm so happy to be here. I have so much gratitude for every little thing because none of them are little things anymore. This fact I can stand here and talk, and in months past, I couldn't carry on a conversation because I spent so much time trying to find the words that were lost in my head. This is living the program for me. It is my life today. And I am so grateful to have had a 6-year dress rehearsal. Thanks.
Love you, Carol.